In this one, we're given alpha and beta that are acute angles, but we're not given what alpha and beta actually are, but we are given some hints so that we can find the other functions. Since they're acute angles, I know they're in quadrant 1. So they're over here, so everything's positive. So for alpha, I'm given that cosine of alpha is 8 over 17. That tells me that the x is equal to 8, r is equal to 17, which tells me that the y is equal to square root of r squared minus x squared, which is square root of 17 squared minus 64. I'm sorry, of minus 8 squared, which is 64. I'm going to use my calculator to figure that one out. So that's radical 17 squared minus 8 squared. Close the radical, and I get that is actually 15. And then that tells me that sine of alpha is y over r, which is 15 over 17. Again, it's a acute angle, so I know it's going to be positive. So I need to find the sine, cosine, and tangent in order to find those three values. So I also need tangent of alpha, which is sine over cosine. So that'll give me 15 over 8. And then for beta, the hint I'm given, I'm not given cosine, I'm giving secant of beta is 25 over 7. Secant is r over x. So that tells me that r is equal to 25 and x equals 7, which tells me y equals the square root of r squared minus 20 minus x squared. So that's 25 squared minus 7 squared, which again, I'm going to use a calculator for that one. So that's square root of 25 squared minus 7 squared. Close the square root, and I get 24. Again, it's acute, so its y is positive. The cosine of beta is actually just the reciprocal of the secant. Sine of beta will be the y that we just found over r, so that's 24 over 25. And tangent of beta is 25 over 20. Sorry, the y over x, so that's 24 over 7. Okay, so now I have all the pieces that I need, and now to find a, b, and c. So starting with a, we're looking for sine of alpha plus beta, which is sine of alpha times cosine of beta. Keep the sign, flip the function, sine of beta. And again, I don't know what alpha is, but I do know sine of alpha. Sine of alpha is right here, and that's 15 over 17. I don't know what beta is, but I know cosine of beta is 7 over 25. And I know cosine of alpha is 8 over 17. And sine of beta is 24 over 25. So when I add those together, let's see, 7 times 15. I'm going to use my calculator for this guy. So 15 times 7, that gives me 105 in the numerator. 17 times 25, 425 in the denominator, plus same denominator because it's 17 times 25 again. 8 times 24, That's 192 in the numerator, and adding those together, I get 7,9,297 over 425. For part A. Repeating this process in part B for cosine. So it's the same idea. The only difference is that my identity has changed slightly. So cosine of alpha plus beta equals cosine alpha cosine beta. Flip the sign for cosine, and sine alpha sine beta. So a slightly different identity. So cosine of alpha is 8 over 17. Cosine of beta is 7 over 25. Sine of alpha is 15 over 17. And sine of beta is 24 over 25. Okay, and then 8 times 7, that gives me 56. I already found out that 17 times 25 is 425 in part A. And then 15 times 24, 240 plus 120, so 360 over 425. So that gives me a negative 304 out of 425. So sorry, that, my mistake. That should be a minus. I misread that little transcription error there. So that should be a minus, which makes this a plus, and this a plus, and this a plus. And that then is 416 out of 425. There we go. So that's our answer for part B. And then part C, I'll just do it up here. Tangent of alpha plus beta, that identity says tangent of alpha, keep the same sign in the numerator and change the sign in the denominator. Find the sum in the numerator and the product in the denominator. And we get tan of alpha is 15 over 8. Tan of beta, 24 over 7. All over 1 minus those two numbers, tan of alpha times tan of beta. Which gives me, so to add those two fractions together, I'm going to do 15 times 7 plus 24 times 8 all over 8 times 7, or 56. And that's a complex fraction that's going to have 56 in the denominator for both. So that 56 is going to cancel. But first I got to subtract this from 1. So I'll do 15 times 7. Oops, sorry, that's actually multiplication. 15 times 24, I did that earlier, didn't I? 240, 360 over 56, which gives me, the denominator is 56 for both of those, so those will cancel out. And I just need to worry about the numerators. So I'll use the calculator for that though. So I have 15, oops, clear that. 15 times 7 plus 24 times 8 for the numerator of the numerator, which gives me 297. I'm ignoring that 56 because I know it's a denominator of both parts, so it's going to cancel when I divide. And then in the bottom, I have 56 minus 360, or negative 304, so I'll bring that negative out in front of the fraction, and I get this as my final answer.